So let's start off on the outside. Full disclosure, this is a fully operating mealworm farm. So I've not cleaned things up, gotten things tidy or neat. This is, everyday life here. So you can see a little bit of plastic there from a recent delivery. I've got some boxes out here I need to take care of. You know, it's kind of messy sometimes, but the mealworms are happy and comfy. But let's take a look here from the outside. This is a 2,100 square foot building. It is 30 feet by 70 feet. And then there's the electric meter piped in underground. So that's where all of our fun electric comes from. We've got a full-size garage door and then a human walk-in door. So I have opened that up. And I did turn the fans off in the insect room. So we'll get to that. I wanted to make sure everybody could hear everything. So this is the front entrance. This area out here is our packaging, preparation, storage, / R&D area. So let's walk through what we've got going on here. Here by the front, we've got our water. We don't have running water here in the building. I don't have a huge demand for it. So what I did is I got some food grade 55-gallon barrels. I fill them up with water from next door, and then we use that as needed. I do have a power washer. It's an electric power washer. I have that to clean the trays, and we actually do that here outside. So there's some trays there. We've got all of our blue trays back in the insect room. In the wintertime, I'm gonna need to build some sort of enclosure on the inside for us to be able to wash these without freezing our tails off. So always something to do, but we'll get it squared away. As you come in, we've got our schedule there. I actually modified this. I found that it didn't really work very well out here. So I built a schedule and it's inside the farm. So we'll take a look at that. But there's a to-do list there, and then some space as we need to make notes or something if we're having a quick chat with the guys. I've got storage here in that back corner, so there's frass packaged up there, ready to head out. We've also got frass storage in general, just some random storage items back there. And then we have our table here. We do quite a bit over here. We've got packaging. We've got some dishes that I actually need to take back and get cleaned up that we've been using over here. It's sort of a staging area that needs to be cleaned up, but we've been working this week, so it is what it is. As we swing across this way, I put my Bran storage close to the door so I can move it in and out. I need to tidy that up. I've got 1,000 pounds coming on Friday. So all of our all of our Bran will get stored here. And then we've got a deep freeze there. That holds 4 bags of Bran. So we do 4 at a time. Put them through that deep freeze for at least 48 hours. Anything under that and it doesn't go into the insect room. That helps us avoid grain mites. I've got a fridge there for storage of mealworms. Cooling them down helps slow them down so they don't pupate as fast. So once we've harvested, I'll get them nice and fed with wheat bran and water gel crystals, and then I will put them in that fridge, and then every 2 to 3 days I'll pull them out, give them some more substrate to eat and some more moisture. Feed. So we've got our wheat bran there. Those are ready to go into the insect room and be used. I was able to pick up some earthworm feed. It had been ordered in by someone and then they never picked it up, so I got a really good deal on it. And it's just some additional nutrition. It's not a staple. I tried it a couple years ago and the mealworms really enjoyed it, but it is more expensive than wheat bran and honestly isn't something that I find is super necessary. It is more costly than wheat bran, and so I just chose not to put it into the farm as a staple. It will provide more nutrition, right? A different spectrum of nutrition for the mealworms, but it's an additional cost. So ideally, the more nutrients you give something, the faster and quicker it's going to grow. So it might cut down the time from hatching to harvesting, but it's an additional input cost. So right now I haven't put it in full rotation. I just use it randomly with the young mealworms. I put in a scoop of it and then let the tray eat it until they're harvested. As we move down the line here, that small machine next to the fridge, that is a powderizer. So you put things in the top. For example, this is where I did the bone meal. So I put the bone in, it grinds it down, and then it shoots out that front chute there. So different things we could do with this, potentially with the bone meal, but also from a feed perspective, you can grind it up. Mealworms, when they're tiny, their mandibles are very small, and so they prefer those smaller granules, and it's easier for them to eat, so they expend less energy on eating and put more of that into growing. I'm not using this heavily. I used it for the bone meal. The wheat bran has been working very well, so I haven't tinkered with that yet. What I want to do is get familiar and comfortable in this building for 1 year, 1 full year of all the seasons we're going to experience, to make sure temperature, humidity, all that stuff is taken care of. As we continue on down, there's a bigger grinder, so I have used that pretty frequently for different experiments. Barley, I ground that up, and I'm testing with that. I got some commodity feed, which is like a mixture, just to kind of see what happens. That I'm not super excited about, because it's a feed that can change ratios. So from my perspective, it's inconsistent in that maybe the mealworms prefer that mixture when it's got a higher percentage of soybeans, for example, versus something else. And depending on the time of year, that mixture might have less soybeans or more soybeans. Just an example. There's a lot of different ingredients that have gone into that. So just a little experiment to play with. And then we have the microwave dehydrator. So that door behind it opens up. You put the mealworms in a tray on the inside, turn this thing on, and then it smells like bread is cooking in here. The mealworms get dehydrated, and then we have dried mealworms. I do not currently produce and sell dried mealworms. Everything I sell right now is live. I can't keep enough in stock. So I haven't tried to utilize this from a business perspective. But it's here for the long term so that I can use it when we need to. I'm walking right by stuff and not talking about it. Let me back up a little bit. So just some general storage. That bag of earthworm feed is going to go in to the farm and get used. It's been through the deep freeze. We've got boxes and bags and different things there that probably just need to be tidied up, but we'll get there. Storage again back there. There's the AC unit. We'll see that when we go into the insect room. But again, just storage of packaging stuff, boxes, random experiments, things that we utilize here every now and then. More storage areas. So there's more frass over here. That IBC tote is actually filled with frass. I actually need to fill it. That's what those boxes up there are staged for. So that is a frass dispenser. That white pipe, that guy right there, has some gate valves that open up and then feed into a container below. I'm having some trouble with that right now. The gate valves are sticking, and so I need to figure out a better solution. I'll get there though. Right now it's hand packaging, which is fine, but as we increase in volume, I'm going to need a more efficient way to do that. As we slide to the right here, let's reorient a bit. So there's the front area that we talked through already, and then office is here. Let's go ahead and just take a gander in there. All the fun employee requirements are there from the state of Missouri and federal government. I'll turn the light on here. I have an air purifier in here. I'm still settling in the office. My focus has been the insect room, so I need some shelving in here, and I don't know if I'm going to paint it. It's just for me in here, basically. So here we go. And there's the window unit that piped in to the insect room to give some additional cooling. That was just a backup. Since this is my first season in the new building, I honestly wasn't sure if the AC unit that's currently supplying the room would be enough. And so I added this in as a backup. We had a couple weeks here of 100+ temperatures. It was actually a pretty mild summer, it felt like. It was really dry, but the AC here was just a backup. So we're getting to the point where I'll probably take that down. And then once I do, I'm going to need it again, so I'll leave it there for another month or two just to be safe. All right, let's head back out here. Grab my coffee. This table here, this is a box drilling station. So what we do here, we get our boxes from various places. We've got USPS boxes. I also have the standard cardboard boxes that need holes in them. And it's from a cost perspective, boxes with holes are super expensive until you start buying them in enormous quantities. So right now, it is a labor cost for us to go ahead and drill these, but I built this jig basically that allows us to clamp these things down with these guys. And then we have a template that we follow when we drill holes into this. So that's how we get the holes into the boxes. So the insects can stay nice and cool in the summer. We'll decrease the number of holes whenever the weather cools off so that they keep the good temperature that they need in those boxes. Below this is the humidifier. So we don't need that right now. We're actually dehumidifying and then box storage. And then here we've got just a bunch of random storage items. Boxes, tools, cups, lids. There's a bunch of pupa bridges up there. If anybody wants one of those, let me know. Those are from Space Coast Mealworms. Trying to think if there's anything. There's a sealer there for our pouches, the pouches that we use for our 1 pound frass. Just general storage. And then above there you can see the wall of cardboard that was used temporarily to hold in the insulation. So the insect room is fully insulated. This wall here is the dividing space. The insect room is 1,100 square feet of the overall 2,100 square foot footprint here. All right, grabbing the coffee again, and we're heading into the insect room. The only thing I've done to prep the insect room for you guys today is turn the fans off so that we can hear each other. Otherwise, this is how it was left yesterday when we were done working. So we'll start on the left, or turn to the left as we come in here. General storage for things. We've got our masks, tape, first aid kit. There's a fan there that is usually on to help circulate in here. We've got our music. Got to have some music when we're doing some work, and other just tools and things that we utilize. Our notebook to take notes of everything. We've got a small heater. Excuse me, a small heater there. I'm going to need a bigger heater for this room. This is just a temporary holding pattern basically, but I'll get a bigger heat unit for this room. And then that there is a filter, so an air filter. It's got a fan from an HVAC unit, commonly called a squirrel cage fan or squirrel fan, on the inside, and then a friend of mine built that box out, and we use that whenever we're harvesting or doing something in here that's real dusty. We'll turn that thing on and get some of that air filtered. As we move off to the right, there's the AC unit. That's a 14,000 BTU unit. I'm going to move that this winter. I'm going to move it out of this room and figure out a way to pipe it in here with the to get the air in here, but the filter takes constant maintenance. I think once a week we're cleaning that thing out because it gets real dusty in here. I was aware that that was going to happen, but I wanted to get it in and tested and just see how it went. We'll adjust that over the winter. Once we no longer need AC, then I'll be comfortable taking it out without putting the colony here at risk, because it'll be cold already. And then we've got our trays. So I'm actually going to start down there when we talk about the trays, because that's where the magic begins. But on our way down there, here's our current frass sifter. So we do a rough sift of pulling out the pupa, the beetles, if there are any. Ideally, there aren't any beetles when we're harvesting. And the larger mealworms that we then keep for the colony. That's what the top one is for. The bottom one keeps the smalls, the small mealworms that need to continue growing. Those go back into trays when we're done harvesting to grow and get bigger. And then the frass collects down there. I'm working on a larger, more efficient sifting machine that can crank through more of these trays. We'll get to that on the other side of the room. But as we go down, there's outlets on the side here. I think 2 per wall. I don't have a high demand for utilizing things over here, so I didn't need to put in a ton of outlets. Let me go back one row here and talk about that. So we do have traps out for various things, insects, spiders, stuff that get in. We are an insect room, right? We've got the mealworms in here, so I don't routinely spray insecticide. I don't want to mess up the mealworms, so that's a preventative measure there. I do spray on the outside of the building, pretty standard practice for that, but those do help cut down on things accumulating on the outside edges of the room. One thing I'll touch on before I talk about the trays, that is another food grade water barrel filled with human water. Sorry, I'm not using the right word there, but that's just straight from the same water source that we're using for the front, but it's the water from the city that is coming in, and we're using that to spray the younger bins. So it's got an ATV pump on the top. It's been jostled a bit. ATV pump and sprayer, and that simply gets plugged in. We spray the younger trays and then give them a bit of moisture. Now that's not necessary or mandatory. The mealworms will grow just fine. We haven't sprayed, let's see, we just started about three weeks ago again. We did it in the old building for a while and then we stopped because of time. And we just got a bit crowded in the old room or the old building. And so we stopped spraying, and we noticed the spraying did decrease the grow time, right? So these bins that get direct moisture are going to grow faster than bins that don't, because the mealworm doesn't have to expend its energy to pull moisture out of the air, so it can use that energy to grow. So we have seen a slight increase since we started, since we started spraying again, and we'll probably keep that going. Okay, so let's talk about our tray organization on this side of the room here. So what we've got going on is on this pallet here, it is on wheels. This is our beetle pallet. So all the beetles in here are partying hard, mating, and laying eggs. And they're living their best life right now. So these beetles will lay their eggs, and then right now we're doing a once per week harvest, or once per week beetle swap. And so what we'll do is we will separate the beetles out of that substrate. The substrate has eggs in it, as well as the bottom of the tray where the beetles will stick them. So we put the egg-laden substrate back into the original tray, and then we stack it and put it into the queue, basically. So you can see there's 2 rows there. So that's the last 2 weeks of beetle swap. And then as we move to the left here, these trays are getting older and older and older, and bigger mealworms, to where we get down here, and these mealworms are the harvesting mealworms. So the 2 rows there with those yellow clips right there by the frass sifter, those are earmarked for harvesting today, and the ones to the left were actually done late yesterday. And so our older mealworms get shifted and moved, and as we continue to do beetle swap, what we'll do is, that's getting a bit crowded at the moment. So what we're probably going to do is, after harvest this morning, we'll have the ability to consolidate some of these rows and then shift them down. And what I mean by that is, once these 2 rows get harvested today, we'll probably take 1, 2, 3, 4 and consolidate that down into 3 rows. And then what that will do is that will allow us to then take these and start moving them that way. And that'll open up room all the way down here so that we can integrate these younger trays and just continue the process. All right, let's continue on to the right here. This stack right here, those are pupa that are hatching into beetles. And so we'll collect those 3 times a week. These are fresh from yesterday. And then the ones on the bottom were from Friday last week, I believe. So they're starting to hatch out. We have some more of those beetle tray or pupa trays there. And then these guys, a throwback to the old building, the white dough proofing trays. So these all right here are pupation trays. So those are mealworms that are earmarked to pupate, turn into beetles, and keep the colony going. We are constantly collecting fresh beetles. We do that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so that we can replenish trays, and so I can ship out those fresh beetles to folks that have purchased those. Off to the right here, again, a good throwback to the old building, these wooden frames. They were useful whenever we were using these black trays and the white dough proofing trays to help with going vertical. Now that we're using these blue trays, we don't need these wooden structures. So these are being utilized right now. I will probably switch everything over once the timing is right. But we've got superworms there. We've got the beetles behind them. We've got some baby bins there, and then just some additional ones that are going to get filled out as that colony grows. And then in the top here, in this one, I have started playing around with dubias. So right now it's just one little tiny grouping of them. There's a bit more under here, but nothing crazy right now. Just kind of getting familiar with them, taking care of this tray just to see what they're like and figure out if that's something we want to start doing more routinely and offering out. These trays, I recently did an experiment where, actually we have an example. So I did an experiment recently where I took the pupation trays that had beetles in it that we didn't collect. So not every beetle clings onto the paper towel here, and so what I did was I separated out all the beetles from the dead pupa that didn't make it. And what I did with them at that point is I put them into a rotation. Normally, a freshly hatched beetle will lay eggs for about 2 months, and then they'll lay 95% or more of those eggs in those 2 months. So after that, from a production perspective in a farm like this, it doesn't make sense to keep those beetles because they're not going to lay as many eggs. So what I did with these bins where we've got beetles that were approximately 3 to 4 weeks old, I took those out, and then I made trays where I put 3,000 beetles in one tray as opposed to our normal 1,500. And what I found is those beetles did produce. So these trays now have mealworms in them. I've not harvested these yet to see, what the quantity of mealworms will be, but it's looking good. These trays have eaten most of their wheat bran. They're going to need a dose of that, but there's going to be some mealworms coming out of that. So we may utilize those moving forward. Just depends on what the mealworm harvest looks like when these do get harvested, to really see if it's worth justifying the trays being used and the time it takes to collect all those beetles. Small experiment here using a screen. I need to reduce the size of this so it can sit more flush with the wheat bran. And as you can see, beetles have been escaping and getting down into the bran. So I need to shore up the sides because they're finding their way out. If there is anywhere that they can get out, they will find their way out. So I do need to take a look at trying to fix that. Or maybe there's some other option out there that would help with some sort of efficient way to swap the beetles. We continue to move this way. There's some more of the test beetles there. That is overcrowded, and I did that on purpose. I was curious to see what would happen, how it would work. Just a little test because we had a bunch of extra beetles and decided to do some testing there. These were the trays that I think it was yesterday or the day before that got some oranges. And so, like this guy here, they've eaten that inside out pretty good. They're starting to nibble on the peel, but they go after the moisture first. They're still a little bit down there, so they're going to focus on that for the most part. But we'll give food sources like that to the beetles because those, the ones that are staying in the colony, anything that gets shipped out is getting water gel crystals and wheat bran to keep things consistent. We've got some more supers here, and then we've got our superworm pupa. Beetles are hatching. You can see some there. There's probably a whole bunch here under this tray as well. I'm not going to mess with them though, I'll leave them be. And then we've got beetles and superworms below. And then just some more test trays of the beetles. I like to test things out and make sure that, is there any improvements or anything that we might have assumed before that needs to be reviewed and checked, that sort of thing. So these guys are just hanging out, doing their thing. As we continue to move around the room, we do have a door here. This door goes out to sort of a waste area. So all of our culled insects go in here, along with the bran and frass that comes along with it. That isn't something that we can, frass that's messy, dirty, or might have eggs in it. I don't want that going out the door to you guys. So we put that in this barrel. It heats up during the day. It gets the afternoon sun and euthanizes everything in the bin. And then we'll take that biomass and we will go put it on the farm just to the north of us here. They utilize that and integrate it into their production. All right. As I step back here, there's our superworm pupation station, basically. Oh, there's our buddy. He helps us with insect control of anything that might get out. We appreciate him. All right. We've got clean trays here, so that's sort of our staging area. We've got Beetle Swap Thursday or Friday this week. That's one of the things that can vary and shift a little bit based on what we've got going on. But these are all clean trays that we'll utilize for that. Vacuum, very important to keep things clean. And then we also use that whenever I'm packaging things up, cupping things up. The frass, wheat bran, and exoskeletons are very static, responsive, and so they'll connect onto the cups and whatnot. So I do a vacuum of that, and then we utilize that just for general cleaning, obviously. Shipping station, boxes, bags, etc. Nothing too fancy there. We stage that so that on Mondays and soon Tuesdays, Wednesdays for regular website orders, wholesale customers can get delivery all the way through Thursday in some cases, especially if you're located close to central Missouri and it's only going to take a day to get to where it needs to be. There is a couple iterations of a custom built sifter harvester. So the longer one there that's behind was a test run using some sifting pieces from Space Coast Mealworms just to start playing around. And then we've moved on to this guy, and this is a brass sifter. So I've got some mesh here, and a vibration motor was hooked up to it to essentially just shake things and move them down the line. So I need to get some parts, and I'm having a couple things made to build this out. This was just a demo model, basically, to see what to help me understand the movement of things based on where the vibration was at, and just get some experience to know where to head next. I'll be posting all of this. I posted this previously. As I get things built and fleshed out, they'll continue to be posted so folks can review that and potentially build one as well. Back corner, we've got the fan there for circulation, again off just for noise reduction here while we do the tour. And then this is our primary shipping table. So this guy here is a custom built sifter sorter. So I have several different mesh sizes. This is 1/8 inch chicken wire from any big box store. This is a medium mesh that I got off of eBay several years ago that I can't find the mesh that it was, unfortunately. And all that happens here is things get put in on top, they get shaken around a little bit, and then they organically fall through. And so we do some separating here of sizes to get things either harvested, frass sifted, etc., depending on what it is that we need to do. Shipping station here. So we did harvesting late yesterday. So Ben's got all the harvested stuff here. Whenever I do shipping, this thing gets cleaned off, and we've got all of our shipping or packaging, honestly, because there's all the cups for local delivery, newspaper, all the stickers that need to be used, everything that we need within grabbing distance to go ahead and get things packaged up and out the door. Storage underneath, a couple random things like the barley, I believe, is in one of those, or the commodity feed. And what else was I testing? Maybe that's the earthworm diet. So just good storage. That way, if anything happens in this room, you know, insects aren't getting into it, and things are closed and sealed. Water gel crystals. So I use water gel crystals from a process perspective, from a functionality perspective. Use these guys, and this is on wheels as well, because I will roll this around and go down each one of these aisles as needed and feed these guys the water gel crystals until we get to the younger ones, and then the younger ones get sprayed. Trash can I need to empty today, and wheat bran barrel. So we go through a lot of wheat bran. And so what this is just a way for us to be able to move this wheat bran around where we need it. I'm still really excited about that. I put that on recently just to hold the lid so I don't drop it and have to go find it. But we'll roll this around where we need it. Like if we're doing Beetle Swap over there, it's over there. Same thing with pupa collection. And then as we need to, we might have to add some into these trays depending on where they're at and how many mealworms are in it. So keeping this mobile has been extremely helpful so that we can get it where we need it to go and just save some steps, basically. Close that up. Okay, so sorry that was a little quick. I'll go slower there. So there's the exit door. A couple things over here. Well, the door we came in, entrance and exit. That is a intake. That on the opposite side of the room is an exhaust fan. So I'll swing around there in just a second, but this opens up whenever the exhaust fan turns on, so we can pull in air from the outside and exhaust the air in here. So that helps with oxygen exchange and gets the air moving in here as well. So let's swing around a little bit slower this time. And there is that exhaust fan. So that's on a timer that runs right now in the evening, every 3 hours, I believe, for 20 minutes. We don't run it during the day right now because the room it's pulling in from will get extremely hot. So I started running it in the evenings only. As the temperature changes, we'll probably modify that and run that during the day to pull in the warmth. You know, just a seasonal thing. And then eventually this other room out here, the room where we started, is going to be insulated and closed up so that it'll be more temperature controlled. And then there's our weekly to-do list. So this is the old version. This was a 1-week version that I would have had to print out every week and mess with. I'd modified that to a 4-week version.